This is the Ford F-150 Lightning. The Lightning is the fully electric F-150. Today I'm gonna go on the road and test this Lightning, see if the winter condition will affect the range. I'm gonna test the acceleration. We're gonna talk about the recharge, all the technology inside. Welcome to the Torque Media channel. On the road with the Ford F-150 Lightning this week. Obviously, the model I'm driving this week is fully equipped. It's a Lariat. The Platinum models are not out yet, but this one's got the big battery, the 131 kilowatt battery joined to 2 electrical engines. This is good for 580 horsepower and 775 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty powerful, one of the most powerful F-150 ever built, considering the torque number. So I'm gonna go test the acceleration. All right, I'm gonna test the acceleration with the Lightning. Obviously, it's winter time here. It's kind of slippery on the road. I'm not on the tarmac, but still, I'm gonna put it in sport, see what this thing does. Pretty strong off the line. There you go. It's really quick. You can do the 0 to 100 kilometers in about 4 seconds. 0 to 60 miles an hour under 4 seconds. This is really quick. And the quarter mile in about 12.4. So extremely quick off the line, one of the quickest F-150 on the market. It's a ton of fun to drive this electric truck. A lot of power, good traction. This F-150 is really well calibrated. Probably the best electric vehicle I drove in the snow so far. They did a really good job. It's not a 4x4 anymore. It's kind of like an all-wheel drive, but it does a really good job. You know, this truck is quite heavy, 6,500 pounds. You can feel it, you know, down the curve. It's not really nimble. It's really hard to turn in small areas and stuff like that. This is where you see really the advantage of having a quad steer, you know, electric vehicle, similar to what we can expect at GM and with the Hummer and all that, with the Silverado, the new Sierra EV and all that. So it means really the wheels in the back is going to turn at the same time you're going to turn the wheels in the front. You know, having that quad steer kind of like remove the weight when you're driving. The cars seems more nimble. They're easier to park, easier to do a U-turn, easier to turn in a really small area. It makes a big difference when you have a long and heavy truck like this. I think that's one of the weak points of the F-150 compared to the upcoming other EV pickup. That really changed. Because, you know, I drove several, you know, quad steer electric cars like the Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV, and that was like night and day. So quite heavy, not really nimble, ton of power, super fun. It feels also heavy, especially in winter condition. That helps a lot. I think there's a better weight distribution in this F-150 compared to a normal F-150. So you don't have that big weight in the front. You've got plenty of weight in the back, so that makes a big difference, especially in winter condition when you drive it, and it's a lot of fun. And obviously we've got a ton of power. Speaking of the all-wheel drive system, we don't have any buttons for putting in 4 high, 4 low. There's several different modes you can use on the big tablet. You've got the obviously sport one. You've got also the off-road mode and also the tow and hold. I've been driving this truck with the 1 pedal mode all week long. It's well calibrated, and you're using a little bit less the brakes and all that. So on the long term, I'm sure it's a bit less rough on the brake. You know, at first I was looking to find that special knob to put it in 4x4. Now it's everything on the screen. You know, this is really the evolution of pickup trucks. Design-wise, the Ford F-150, it's quite different from the other F-150. You get a different front end, different headlights. A big light is gonna start from side to side. That's a different look. I'm not a big fan of that big light, especially the finish is kind of frosted. It doesn't look like high-end from my point of view. Obviously, we don't have any grille in the front. This is a shield, so it's better for the aerodynamics. On the side, pretty similar to a normal F-150. Obviously, we've got some spatial wheels to be better for the aerodynamics. In the back, we've got spatial tail lights, also long lights all the way across the tail lights. But the rest of the truck is basically an F-150. Same cab, same bed, all that. But you got some different little touches, and you know, that's a plus, especially because this truck is way much more expensive than a normal F-150. So it needs to be a little bit more different than the other ones. Also, something unique for the F-150, we've got a frunk, so cargo space in the front. So you can open the hood and you get a cargo space. This is good for 400 liters of cargo space, and it's rugged. You've got outlets for 110, USB port, USB-C port. For me, it's a big plus. You know, I used to have a pickup truck. When I was putting something more fragile, I wanted to make sure, you know, nothing happened in the back. You know, even if you have a good tonneau cover, it's always kind of dirty and wet and really cold in the box. So, you know, having a real cargo area, a real kind of trunk in the front, this is a big plus. Interior wise, the first thing you notice inside, it's that big tablet vertical screen, 15 inches for this Lariat model. It works pretty well. Everything is clear. The rear camera views, the 360 views and all that, all the modes you can use. One thing though, if you're working with your truck, everything is basically on that tablet. So if you want to, you know, play with the climate, your heated steering wheel, your fans and all that, everything is on the tablet. From my point of view, they could have, you know, let some of controls with real buttons, especially if you're working with your truck with glove. If your hands are dirty, you don't want to, you know, mess around with your screen. This is not really Ford built tough from my point of view. You've got a bunch of modes also to help you for the towing. You've got the smart hitch mode. You've got also an onboard scale, so it's gonna measure how much weight you're gonna put, you know, on your hitch or inside of your box payload wise. This feature is gonna help the truck to manage how much range you've got with the weight you're putting in the box or, you know, towing behind your F-150 Lightning. Otherwise, nice digital cluster in front of me, really clear, easy to understand. But the rest of the truck, it's basically a well-equipped Lariat. Nothing special because it's a Lightning. We've got a panoramic roof, we've got seats, they're gray. This one is not a Platinum this week. The Platinum is not out yet in Canada. You know, I feel, you know, for the price difference between the electric one and the gasoline one, we can see a good gap. It's like 30 to 40 grand gap. Having the same interior for a truck, you know, you're gonna pay more than $100,000. You know, the finish in kind of like jeans and all that. I'm not a big fan of that for this price point, but other than that, you know, same sound system. We still have this, you know, knobs gonna lay down to give you more space to have a working station. You've got a wireless charging pad for your phone. Also, you've got a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and all that. The space inside of the cab, the comfort and all that, all the same as a normal, regular F-150 Lariat. Speaking of towing, you can tow up to 10,000 pounds. Payload wise, up to 2,000 pounds. The 2,000 pounds, it's not for the model with the big battery, because the big battery is a little bit heavier than the small battery, so we get a little bit less payload for the one with the 131 kilowatt battery, but still pretty decent. Obviously, you can expect a big drop in your range while you're towing. Speaking of range, the EPA rate this truck at 515 kilometers combined city and highway. You know, these numbers are in ideal condition. Obviously, this week I've been driving this truck in winter condition. You know, it was in between minus 10 Celsius to 0 Celsius. Some snow also on the road. My range this week in winter condition was around 300 kilometers. So you can expect around a drop of 215 kilometers in winter conditions. Obviously, using your Ford F-150 while towing in winter condition, you can expect another drop of range depending on the weight and the aerodynamic of your trailer. You can expect probably, you know, dropping below the 150 kilometers, maybe below 100 kilometers if you're towing 10,000 pounds. All right, let's talk about charging time. I've got all my notes here. I noticed something this week. Maybe not everyone's gonna talk about this, but you have to really keep it in mind if you're interested for this truck. So charging time for a level 1 is gonna be more than 95 hours. But really good to know for the F-150, you're able to recharge it on a normal outlet. So if you're into some like remote area and you have access to the electricity and there's no charger, at least you're able to plug it in. That's a big plus. And this F-150 recharge, even if it's cold. It was not the case when I was driving the Genesis GV60 on a normal outlet. When it's cold outside, the Genesis was not recharging. So that's a big plus for the F-150, even if it's a big battery. So level 2, it's gonna take you around 8 hours to 15 hours. So why those two numbers? Because this truck comes with the charger from Ford, and the charger from Ford, it's quite bigger. It's got better performance than a normal level 2 charger. It's not a fast charger, but it's quite bigger. So a normal level 2 charger is going to recharge around 7.6 kilowatt, and the Ford charger needs to be installed on an 80 ampere cord, and the Ford charger is going to recharge up to 19.2 kilowatt. So this is basically more than double than the normal typical level 2 charger. So this is where the 8 hours to 15 hours is going to play. So what exactly this mean? Yes, this charger comes with the long range battery, so that's a big plus when you're buying the truck. But most level 2 charger you're gonna find pretty much anywhere won't get you the performance of the 8 hours. So when you're at home, it's gonna recharge during the night at 8 hours. But if you're at your work, in the city, at the grocery stores, when you're expecting maybe to get a full recharge in just a couple of hours, it won't be the case. So this is basically what happened to me this week. I was using a level 2 charger from the Circuit Electrique here in Quebec. So after 6 hours, from 50%, it was up to 90%. So I was expecting those numbers of 8 hours, after I thought, plugging in for 4 or 5 hours, I would get my 50%. It was not the case. So you have to keep that in mind. I've been using also a level 3 charger. After 1 hour, I was able to bring the battery from 50% to 90% with the combo plugged in fast charger of 100 kilowatt. So on a fast charger, you can recharge on 150 kilowatt from 15% to 80% in 41 minutes. Good to know also, you're able to use only up to 155 kilowatt charger. You're not able to use the big ones, the 350 kilowatt, like you can do with the Hyundai, Kia, Genesis products. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind. You're not able to get those super fast charging maybe in less than 30 minutes or maybe in less than 25 minutes like you can get with the Genesis. So you have to keep that in mind. It's not all the level 2 chargers who's performing the same. Price-wise, the Ford F-150 starts at $81,195. If you want the big battery inside of the XLT, so the base model with the big battery, starts at $97,195. And the model I'm driving this week, it's over $113,000. Without including all the tax and we've got also new taxes here in Quebec for all the cars over $100,000. So it's quite expensive for this electric truck. Is it worth it? You know, this F-150 is the first one on the road. It cannot be perfect. You know, kudos to Ford to, you know, putting this truck on the market, being the first. Obviously, you won't have all the gadgets, you know, Chevrolet and Ram are claiming to bring on the market. Obviously, when you're the first one, it's tough to have all the bells and whistles. It's quite expensive, you know, for this type of price. You know, it's the same kind of price for a TRX or maybe a Raptor R and all of that. I'm not sure about the Raptor R here in Canada, but this is kind of like super truck, super expensive. It's really a statement. You really have to really want this truck being electric and all that. From my point of view, it's a little bit too expensive. If it was the base price with the big battery, it will be really worth it. But I think, you know, you have to spend a little bit more dough to be the first one on the road, be electric and all that. This is part of the game. But I think this market of pickup will be super competitive. And, you know, once the GM will be on the market, the Ram and all that, Ford's gonna need to bring more gadgets, more updates to these trucks. So they're gonna become outdated really quickly from my point of view. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this Ford F-150 Lightning? Is it worth it for the price? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And we're gonna see each other on the next review.